Come on in here. So, we're talking about radical obedience today, and I really pride myself on living a life of radical obedience. Radical obedience. Now, most of us have heard of being obedient. We say it all the time, especially if we faith-based, we believers. We've heard the term obedience. We say it, we use it. It's a popular word, kind of like vibe check, you know what I mean? Swag, shenanigans, right? Obedience is a popular word. But as I reflected over my life, I realized like there's levels to obedience. There is levels to obedience. And one of the things that I'm going to break down for you today in very precise, exact terms, where my meaning, my intention, and the purpose of what I'm saying can there, I'm gonna not gonna leave any confusion on the table. Today we're talking about what it means to be radically obedient. So this is 10 steps above just obedience. We're talking radical obedience today. So I define radical obedience as a willingness, or let me say a word for word, complete surrender. Let me say it how I wrote it. Radical obedience is complete surrender to what you're being called to do despite the presence of fear and uncertainty. Radical obedience is complete surrender to what you're being called to do despite the presence of fear and uncertainty. And I'm about to break down to you my proprietary 4-step framework for what takes obedience from obedience to radical obedience. So I hope y'all ready. Good morning, Instagram. Good morning, YouTube. I'm fully active. Now, here's the question. Number one, did you bring your tea? Did you bring your tea? Okay, because as I get to going, y'all know I get in my bag, the examples start flowing, things start flowing. I want to make sure that anytime your edges start lifting up, right, you can just look away and sip your tea like she ain't talking to me. I know she ain't talking to me like that. I know she ain't talking to me like that. Okay, so I hope you brought your tea, something to sip on, most importantly, your pen and your pad. If you're wanting your life to go from just obedient, to radical obedience for 2025. Good morning. Hey, EL Solutions on Instagram said, I'm ready to hear this conversation. It's that Loyal Love on Instagram said, good morning. Good morning. What's up, YouTube? Stacy said, Grand Rising. Last week was already fire. Let's get it. Jacqueline said, I got water. That's good enough. We'll take it. Angel said, it's the shirt for sale, the plant protocol. It's coming. It's coming. Thank you for asking. So great morning, everybody. Let me tell y'all about, can y'all celebrate with me for just 1 second? Let's talk about, let's start off with a victory around obedience. So less than 3 months ago. So I've been telling you guys the most of the year that I'm writing a book, and I'm writing a book about radical obedience. And I completed the first draft several months ago, right? But it was a raggedy first draft because it was partially like handwritten, so to speak, like typewriter, whatever, keyboard written, but it was partially recorded. So a couple years ago, I recorded a podcast called Obedience. And the purpose for me recording that podcast was to get those episodes transcribed so that each episode will be a chapter in my book. And so the first draft of my book was some of me sitting down and just writing from the dome. The rest of it was transcribed episodes of this podcast I did called Obedience. And so I had 296 pages, single spaced, 11-point font, over 200,000 words of the first draft of my book, but I knew it was a really raggedy draft because it had those transcribed episodes in there, which means it read like a podcast. So there was parts in there where I'm like, hey, welcome back to the podcast, and this is what's going on, or I'm talking about current events, and I knew all of that needed to be edited out, but I didn't want to do it. I'm like 296 pages, over 200,000 words. I'm like, okay, I got this thing in a Google Doc. So how can I hire somebody else to edit this first draft? And I started looking around. Like I had one person flat out tell me, no, I'm not touching that. I don't do that. Right. Like I was searching for an editor who could take my super raggedy first draft of my book and put it into something that was a little more organized and legible. And I knew in the back of my head that I probably needed to do it myself to make it flow the way I wanted to flow, and then hand it off to a professional editor after I had the real first draft. And after resistance for months, because the thought of making time to sit down to edit this 296-page document was not a good feeling. And after resistance for months, I just made the declaration like, okay, Lisa, you're going to have to do this yourself. You're going to have to edit this first raggedy draft of your book yourself before you hand it over to professional editors. They have to know what you're trying to say. They have to know what order you want your ideas in. You got to have the stories in there that you want to tell. Like, you got to do this yourself. And so less than 3 months ago, y'all, I finally resisted obedience and I sat down and I began the process of editing this first draft of my book. And I said, Lisa, you got to get this done before December 31st, 2024. And so, based on the day it was when I made that decision, I typed in Google how many days are left in 2024. And at that time, it was 94, 95 days left in the year. And I did the math based on how many pages I had to edit. And I had to edit 3 pages a day in order for me to finish the book by December 31st. Okay. And y'all, I'm so happy to report. What's today? Today is December, is it 16th or 18th? Today is December 16th. Okay. I am so happy to report that I finished editing that book 2 days ago on December 14th, 2 weeks early, y'all. Radical obedience is undefeated. I sat down every single day, and edited it but it was brutal some days. So this means I was getting up so much earlier because nothing changed in my day. Like nothing came off of my plate. Okay. We need to start the conversation here. Like, I need y'all to understand what obedience means. Like, my schedule didn't lighten up in order for me to be able to do this. I had to create space and time and energy to be able to edit this first draft of the book. My schedule did not lighten up. I still had all of my same responsibilities in addition to the ones that were coming. You know, I get booked for speaking gigs, whatever it is. And so travel, I had a lot of unexpected travel in these last couple of months. And so I had to do what I had to do. And so guess what? Y'all, woke up every day. Some days it was 3:30 in the morning. Some days it was 4 o'clock in the morning because I had a full day. Some days if I had to catch a flight early or catch a flight early afternoon, I was like, I got to get these 3 pages edited. And I did it, y'all. I did it. Like, I put my head down and I was like, I'm meeting this deadline. Now, it was my own deadline. Nobody else is waiting on the book yet. I haven't found my next editor that I'm going to use. So nobody was waiting on me to finish. I was waiting on me to finish. And so I'm just so happy to report that I completed my first edit of my book about radical obedience 2 weeks ahead of time. So that is the catalyst for today's conversation. I want to talk to you guys about what it means to be radically obedient. Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much. I love y'all so much. Thank you for supporting me. I had to create the space for my assignment. God was like, why you on Fiverr Pro searching for somebody to edit this raggedy draft? You need to do this first raggedy draft. So your ideas are coming through the way you want them to come through, right? And so I had to do what needed to be done. So with that being said, I want to jump into today's conversation, and I want to start off. Hey, what up, Ujo from Chicago, my homie, back for more. So I want to start off today's conversation with a quote from the book that I just got done editing. Okay, sips tea. I'm going to start off today's conversation with a quote from the book I just got done editing. I have some phenomenal students in our coaching program. And one of my students, his name is Trevor, and he's in our plant-based coaching program, Farm to Table. And in yesterday's class, we meet every Sunday for Farm to Table. And in yesterday's class, Trevor reminded me of a quote that I told them a couple of weeks ago. And he was like, that I wrote that down. It resonated with me so much. And I want to say it to you guys because it really speaks to the conversation that we're having today. And this comes directly from my book that is coming. I can't say it's coming soon because it's still got a lot of other editing, publishing, cover design to go through, but it is coming. But the quote from the book says this: the truth is, the spirit of excellence does not have an off switch. When you've decided to do your best every time, the circumstances stop mattering. Excellence is not conditional. I'm going to read it one more time. Okay. The truth is, the spirit of excellence does not have an off switch. When you've decided to do your best every time, the circumstances stop mattering. Excellence is not conditional. So, for those of you who have goals, those of you who have aspirations, those of you who are really aspiring to do some great things, whether it's turn your personal health around or write a book yourself, I need you to know that excellence is not conditional. It doesn't matter that I got to travel today. It doesn't matter that I got a full day of speaking and teaching and coaching. It doesn't matter that I haven't had an off day. Now, I'm not promoting exhaustion or overwhelm or chronic stress or whatever, right? So don't come for me about we need sleep and we need rest days. I know that. My point is, excellence is not conditional. It didn't matter. All I knew was I wanted to finish that book before December 31st. And I did not get to make excuses for myself as to why I didn't get it done. Right. And I need you guys to understand a lot of us are making our goals conditional. We're willing to do everything we need to do to be healthy as long as all the conditions align. Like, yeah, I'm willing to work out, drink my water, eat more home cooked meals and stop eating out so much. As long as I don't have to travel, I'm not on vacation. It's not the holidays and they didn't bring no good smelling free food into the office. No, 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 no. Those are conditions. You do what's required to do to get rid of the excess weight, to get rid of the diabetes, to get rid of the aches and pains, to get rid of the chronic fatigue. Excellence is not circumstantial, right? And so that's what I need you guys to understand. And so as we talk through my signature framework for obedience today and what makes obedience radical, this is where I'm coming from. I need y'all to understand that radical obedience is a whole nother level, it's a whole nother way of being obedient. Okay, so let's get into it. Get your pens and pads. If note takers on YouTube, on Instagram, do us a whole favor and type these in the chat as I go through them. There's going to be four markers for what makes obedience radical. My note takers, do us all a solid. Angel said, can somebody please type in the quote? Angel, let me read it again. Just so you'll have it. This is being recorded, guys. This is the live recording of the Plant Protocol podcast also. So Angel, you'll hear it many more times, especially make sure you're following the Plant Protocol podcast. But let me read the quote for you again from my book. I hope this is the quote you're talking about, Angel. Are you talking about the excerpt from my book? I hope you are. But I'm going to read it again. It says, the truth is, the spirit of excellence does not have an off switch. When you've decided to do your best every time, the circumstances stop mattering. Excellence is not conditional. I hope that's what you were referring to, Angel. Okay. So, what makes obedience radical? Here's number one. There's 4 characteristics of radical obedience. The first one is radical obedience is complete, not partial. So obedience is complete, not partial. So what does that mean? That means you do everything you were told to do and not some of the things. So what's the first thing that makes obedience radical? It is that it is complete and not partial. Complete and not partial. Here's my challenge. I told my our farm to table students yesterday, we had a really good class yesterday in farm to table. And I was telling them yesterday that when it comes to our health goals and typically any goals that we have in our life, here's the biggest issue with people. Most people, at least most of the people that we all probably spend time with, right, live their lives in the middle. They live their lives in the middle. So what that means is that they're not necessarily doing the least. They just refuse to do the most to get to their health goals. So most of us, like when it comes to our personal health, for example, let's say you're trying to lose weight or you're trying to gain weight or you're trying to put on muscle or you're trying to reverse a condition or whatever it is. You're trying to keep something in remission. Most people's issue is not that they don't do anything. We just don't do all the things. Let me tell you, guys know we are coming up on our next 30-day vegan, salt, oil, and sugar-free challenge, right? And we do the challenge twice a year. And our last challenge, our spring 2024 challenge, I remember distinctly, we have general admission for our challenge, which is free, and we have VIP, right? And we had a young lady who was VIP. And I remember doing one of our VIP Q&As, she came on and she said, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. When I first found Lisa's challenge and when I first read everything that was gonna be required of us, I said to myself, oh, I'm not giving up sugar. I'll give up the rest, but I'm not giving up sugar. She was like, and I don't know, something happened. Now she was an ultra VIP. And so with our ultra VIP challengers, they get a private coaching session with us, right? And so she said, after my private coaching session, I decided, no, I'm not going to just do part of the protocol. I'm going to do all of the protocol. And she did. And she got significant results. Like she lost weight, like things changed for her. Like she followed the entire protocol for our 30-day vegan challenge. And she had phenomenal results that she reported in the end. She showed us screenshots of her charts and her numbers and her pictures. It was amazing, right? But I remember her distinctly saying during a VIP conversation, she said, when I heard the chat, like vegan, salt, oil, and sugar free, she said, I was very ready to do most of it. But I was telling myself that I wasn't going to go as far as letting the sugar go all the way. But eventually she did. And I want to say that this is the challenge for a lot of us. We're not where we want to be because of our lack of doing anything. Most of us are doing something. The issue is that our obedience is partial. We're willing to do most of the things, but not necessarily all of the things. We're willing to go the majority of the way, but not necessarily all the way. Like yesterday in class, Trevor, he told us, he was like, Coach, I had to travel recently. And he's like, I didn't really have that much food on me. And he said, I got on the plane. They upgraded me to first class. In first class, the lady come around with the snacks. The only snack I could really kind of eat was the almonds. He said, Coach, but they were salted almonds. He said, so you know what I did? I told her to bring me a glass of water and I rinsed the almonds off, Coach. I rinsed the almonds off, wiped them down, and ate the almonds. And I said, Trevor, that's what I'm talking about. Do you know how many people most people would say about Trevor what they say about me? He doing too much. Lisa, she doing too much. She talking about no moderation. I can have I'm working out. I'm drinking water. I'm eating vegetables with every meal. I can afford a small bag of chips. I can afford a small slice of pie at the holiday dinner. Radical obedience is complete, not partial. I need you to check in with yourself. How many of y'all are just doing enough to say you doing something? Like you don't even get winded during your workouts no more, but you still show up for a workout. So you're not doing enough to move the needle, but you're doing enough to maintain where you are. The problem is you still want the needle to move. So you're obedient because you're showing up to exercise consistently. But you're not getting that heart rate up no more. You're not running. You're not lifting like we told you to lift. You're not challenging yourself like we told you to challenge yourself. You're not getting a coach like you've been told to do because you got an injury and you're afraid of re-injuring yourself. And you've been instructed to get a trainer who specializes in that so they can teach you how to work out and be safe. But you don't want to do all that. But you're willing to still walk. You willing to still do the stuff that's comfortable. You still willing to do the stuff that will allow you to check the box to say it's done. Radical obedience is complete, not partial. It's complete, not partial. We have to stop only doing enough to say we doing something. What was the assignment? When you could listen, as of today, I think we got like 1,166 people registered for the next 30-day vegan, salt, oil, and sugar-free challenge, y'all. And when y'all come into this challenge with me, we have the protocol for you guys. We have the protocol for you guys. We have the protocol for you guys, and it is on a sheet of paper. Like we got the protocol on a sheet of paper, so it's no questions asked. Like we have the protocol in a PDF that you can download. You can post it up on your refrigerator, in your office, in your car. Like you can hang it from your rear view mirror like a air freshener. Like what's the protocol? So because I don't like cloudiness. Like I like extreme clarity because when I'm yelling at our students, I like it to be very clear that you know exactly why I'm yelling at you. But here's the challenge. When they get the protocol, people will look at the protocol and they'll be like, I ain't giving up alcohol. Lisa tripping. My birthday in January, I'm gonna have me a drink. Meanwhile, you on 2.5 medications on your way to a fourth. Yeah, I know I skipped a number. Yeah, because you're gonna get two more added next time you go to the doctor. But you only willing to do part of my protocol because your birthday in January. Meanwhile, you got a lifestyle disease that's preventing you from showing up on assignment. Anyway, obedience, partly what makes it radical. Okay. The first out of four things I'm sharing with you this morning is that it is complete, not partial. It is complete, not partial. You're not just vegan when they got vegan options. You vegan because you vegan and you got some stuff you trying to combat right now. You get what I'm saying? You're not just saved when it's easy to be saved. Like you don't just tithe when you got it that week. You tithe all the time. Obedience is complete, not partial. I think y'all got it. Let's go to number two. Everybody put number one in the chat form. Let me sip my tea so y'all can breathe that last little bit out. Okay. All right. What's up, Rocky? Rocky said, whoo, I admit this is me. Discipline is a struggle. Complete, not partial. Thank you, Rocky, for being honest. Anybody else want to confess today? Anybody want to confess today? Okay, let's get into number two. So obedience is complete, not partial. Obedience is complete, not partial. Here's number two. The second thing that makes obedience radical, it's that obedience is immediately, not eventually. Obedience is immediately, not eventually. Let's see. Let's be clear. Let's be crystal clear. So I told you guys we doing this 30-day vegan challenge, and I told you guys that our ultra VIP challengers, they get a private one-on-one prep call. They get a private coaching session to prepare them for the challenge so we can kind of map out what they need to focus on for the challenge, right? And so last week I had one of these one-on-one coaching sessions for one of our ultra VIPs, right? And me and her were having a good conversation, and she was like, Lisa, I'm joining the challenge because I just beat cancer and I need to keep it in remission. I just want to make sure I'm good to go. She said, but also my doctor just diagnosed me with type 2 diabetes. I said, ooh, right. And she was like, plus I gotta lose weight. Okay. So I said, you in the right place, baby girl. Let's get it. Right. So gotta keep cancer in remission. Got to get off of, type 2 diabetes, got to reverse that, got to lose weight. I said, got it. And she said, my issue is definitely consistency. Like I will do good, then I'll fall off. I'll do good, then I'll fall off. I'll do good, then I fall off. Sound familiar? I thought it did. So I said, okay, well, I said, have you done our first assignment that we give you in a challenge portal? Now, the name of that assignment is Give Your Health an Assignment. Okay. She said, no, I don't think I have. I said, oh, let me explain it to you. I said, one of the reasons we typically fall off on our health journey is because we we think we're only doing it for ourselves, right? And we are neglecting how we intend to leverage our health. I said, so for example, I lost weight years ago. I don't have any pre-existing conditions, not on medications for anything. But the reason I still eat as clean as I eat, the reason I still work out as hard as I work out is because speaking and teaching and coaching it is my gift. And I want to show up every time I do with a very sharp brain. And the only way I can do that is if I stay off of sugar all the time. Like as long as I get good rest, as long as I move my body. Like when I hit these stages, I don't need anything distracting me mentally. Like, how do I look? What are people thinking? I'm too overweight. I don't belong here. So I can't afford those limiting beliefs. So I got to have body confidence. My mind got to be sharp. I got to be well rested. I said, so the reason I adhere to a whole food plant-based lifestyle and my mindfulness and my prayer and my exercise and all of the things that lend to a healthy lifestyle is because you're my assignment. I have to coach you. I have to be good for you. I said, what's your assignment? You know what she told me? She said, well, I work with kids, teenagers. And she said, they really struggle with confidence and belief in themselves. And she's like, I recently was asking them some questions and I asked them to write down their answers anonymously. And she was like, they were talking about suicide and they were talking about all of this dark stuff. And she said, I really want to create a program for teen girls. I said, I love this. I love this. That sounds like a beautiful assignment, right? I said, okay, now we're getting somewhere. You have to give your health an assignment. Like, what do you have to be healthy enough to do? Because remember, getting healthy is just the starting line, not the finish line, right? So she told me the assignment. And then I asked her something, y'all. Then I asked her something that took the conversation to the next level. And it was a very simple question. And you guys can ask yourself this question. And I asked her, I said, how long have you been wanting to create this program for teen girls? And I'm sad to report, y'all, she put her head down. The energy in the Zoom room changed a little bit. It was just me and her. But she put her head down and she shook her head and she said, years. I said, excuse me, say what? I said, excuse me, say what? She said, years. I've been working with these babies for years, and I've been wanting to create a program that does this and does that and does this and does that in service to these teenagers. I said, you done had this assignment for years and you still haven't executed? She said, yeah. The second thing that makes obedience radical is immediately, not eventually. It's immediately, not eventually. Some of us been playing in God's space for a long time. He told you what to do, and you still have not lifted a finger to do it. He told you what to do, and you still delaying the assignment. After all this time, it's so crazy to me. You know, I I have a bachelor's degree, I have an MBA, and I'm a pre-med dropout, right? And I remember, so it's been some years since I've been in school. Like the last schooling I was in was when I dropped out of pre-med, right? So it's been some years, ain't been that many years, but it's been some years. I started pre-med 2018, maybe dropped out 2 years later, whatever. But I don't know if anything's changed. Some of y'all might still be in school. You can tell me if something has changed. But the last time I was in school, there were consequences. Like when you get the syllabus, it usually tells you what's due on what date, right? Last time I was in school, there were consequences for late assignments. Last time I was in school, there were consequences for no assignment, like you just don't turn nothing in. Right? The last time I don't know. Some of y'all in school now, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But the last time I was at university, there were real consequences like a hit to your GPA, a hit to your transcript. Maybe you were doing a prerequisite that you needed to get into another program, and you might not get into that program if you don't turn in your assignments. Let me tell you, I don't know this for a fact, but God kind of whispered in my ear, he's sick and tired and sick of giving us assignments that we are not turning in. How dare you be sitting on an assignment for years and you plan around? And here's what gets me. Some of us, we sit on assignments so long that we start saying stuff like, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what I'm called to do. I don't know what my gift is. We had an assignment so long ago that we refuse to turn in, that all of a sudden we get back to ground zero and start saying, I never had an assignment. Why you lying? Why? Why? Because you don't want to know how I know y'all lying? Because when I get in private conversations with y'all be like, I don't know what my purpose is, Lisa. Help me find my purpose, Lise. Help me find my purpose, coach. And as soon as we get in the conversation, I'll be like, well, what? You mean to tell me there ain't nothing you ever had thought about, nothing you had? Well, I had a lady tell me the other day, well, what I really want to do is create community gardens for communities that are food insecure. I said, what? How long you been wanting to do that? It's been years. I said, you mean to tell me you've been wanting to feed the community for years and you ain't dead? Yeah. All it takes is about 20 seconds of probing and y'all spilling the assignment out. I'm sick of, listen, what happened? Your dog ate it? What happened? Your internet went out? What happened? You spilled coffee on it. What's the excuse this week, y'all? What's the excuse? God gave you the assignment. Obedience is immediately, not eventually. Obedience is immediately, not eventually. That's what makes it radical. It's complete, not partial, and it's immediately, not eventually. I'm just trying to see what's the excuse this week. Did you oversleep? Is that why you missed the assignment? What's the excuse now? Now I'm just saying. Did Chat GPT go down? What's the excuse? God, he hands us assignments, guys. When we're born, God hands us an assignment. And how many assignments are currently overdue? How many? I ain't been out of school that long. I think it still works that way. I still think you get the syllabus, you get the assignment, and you're meant to turn it in by a certain time, not when you feel like, not when you finally get over your insecurities, not when you finally get over your imposter syndrome, not when you finally decide, okay, the baby's is old enough, I can finally make time for me and what God told me to do. Obedience is of immediately, not eventually. Y'all playing. Ujo, listen. The dog ate my homework. Y'all be on one. The amount of excuses I've heard over the years as to why we're disobedient is insane. Well, I don't have enough. You know what I had a student tell me? I don't see how. I don't see how to do it. I said, stop lying to me. The how is the least of our problems. The only thing you need is the what, and God provides the provision. God provides the how. All you got to do is tell one person, and I promise you, like when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. It's no reason you've been sitting on this 20 years because you don't know how to do it. Quit playing with me. Anyway, y'all got number 2. Let's get on to number 3. Let me top up. What y'all drinking on? I did some Earl Grey today, y'all. I did a little black tea. I ain't gonna lie, I got a couple milligrams of caffeine in it. I'm usually herbal tea only. I messed around and got enticed by Harley and Sons Earl Grey. So I got a little caffeine in my thing this morning. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Can y'all tell? Anyway, let's get back to it. Number 3. So number 1, what makes obedience radical? Number 1 is complete, not partial. Do all of what you've been told to do, not only the parts that make you comfortable. Number 2, what makes obedience radical? It's immediately, not eventually. Quit playing. Stop sitting on these things for months and years. You'll be surprised how your life changed when you move quickly. One of our core values at my company is success, love, speed. The whole team knows. Please, why you ain't responded to that email yet? Why we haven't set that up yet? Why we don't have a reservation for that yet? Success loves speed. Obedience is immediately, not eventually. Here's number 3. The third thing that makes obedience radical is that you do it with joy, not resistance. Let's talk about your attitude. Okay. So y'all ever had somebody ask you to do something and you knew you was going to do it. You was going to say yes, but you did it with a whole bunch of reluctance. You did it begrudgingly. You ever had that? Like my sister just reached out to me a couple of weeks ago and she's like, sis, can I use your place to host my holiday Friendsgiving? Right. Now, I ain't gonna hold you, y'all. I clenched up a little bit. I am so particular about my place, right? Like it's my piece. I work from home. I live from home. So I have to I like everything in its place and a place for everything. Like I like cleanliness. I don't like anything like this. Like it's a big deal to me, right? And so I don't like having company. I'm private. Like it's a whole thing. I don't like people to know where I live. It's probably because I know like I'm becoming a public figure. I'm on my way to being a bigger public figure and then being a household name. So I'm just like, I covet privacy. Like already I covet privacy. And so when my sister asked me to use my place for her to host her Friendsgiving party, I flinched a little bit. I ain't gonna hold you. I flinched, right? But she and my place wasn't her first choice. She's like, at least I was gonna do it in the clubhouse, but they just shut the clubhouse down because it's under construction. She was like, we had no idea. They just put a sign up, so I can't use our clubhouse. So can I use your place? So it was a last minute. She didn't like her event was like in 2 days. It was like super last minute. I'm like, dang. Yeah. I had to say, yeah, it's a little sis, right? And But I knew if I said yeah, I had to say yes with a smile. Because here's what none of us like. Like, for those of us who already have a hard time asking for stuff, part of the reason we don't like asking for stuff is because we don't like, number one, for people to throw it in our face or whatever. But we also don't like to feel like we're inconveniencing anybody or being a burden to anybody. So there's nothing like somebody saying yes to you, but they saying it with an attitude. They saying it begrudgingly, like, yeah, you can have these couple dollars, but they make you feel bad about asking, right? And they yes just becomes like toxic. You know what I'm saying? And I know people hate that. So I wasn't about to do that to my sister. So what I said when soon as she asked me, I knew in my spirit, I got the full body yes, like, help your sister out, right? But I knew I had to do it with joy. I knew I couldn't do it with reluctance. I knew I couldn't do it with resistance. I knew I needed to be a joyful giver. See, when you are on assignment and you are being obedient to what you're called to do, you're in service to other people, but you have to do it with a smile and a genuine smile. You have to be I was happy that my place was going to be empty and she could use it and she can host her party and things can go as planned. I couldn't be in my head like, don't tear my stuff up. Let me see the camera. What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, have a good time. Absolutely. Everything is replaceable. You about to create a memory with your friends. I love that for you. Obedience, you do it with joy, not reluctance. Now, let me give you an even deeper example. Okay. Let me give you an even deeper example. A while ago, we were enrolling in one of our programs, my business accelerator. You guys know I help people create successful coaching businesses, right? And so we had someone who enrolled in the program and then almost immediately, shout out to my CEOs and everybody out there who's taken a risk on life and decided to start a business. um, but after a couple days, after she enrolled, like 24, 48 hours after she enrolled, she was like, she changed her mind. She changed her mind. And she wanted a refund. And I'm like, shoot, right? It was thousands of dollars, right? And so I'm like, oh man, now I knew right away. Like, because our gut, our intuition, like God gives us the answer right away. Sometimes we just have a hard time being obedient to the answer we got. So I knew right away when she asked, like, I'm like, I don't want this energy. She's definitely not my ideal client because I love working with people who already know what they want and they not all on the fence and they don't have all these issues with insecurity. Oh, I don't want to invest in myself right now. Okay, cool. So I'm like, let her go because I don't want that energy. Because when we get to work, I just want to be able to work on your business without you getting in the way, right? And so I knew immediately I was going to give her money back, but I knew I had to do it with joy. Any other entrepreneurs out there ever had to make a business decision that wasn't ideal? And you had to really work hard to do it with grace and poise and gratitude. You had to do it with an abundance mindset. It wasn't like, oh, if I get this money back, I'm not going to get more money. It was, I'm happy to refund you. I'm happy to, like, customer service, because we hadn't started working together yet. So it was okay. She hadn't had access to any of my intellectual property yet. Like, it was okay. Like, Lisa, give it to her and let her go. Anybody else had to be like in service to somebody else and do something that they really didn't want to do, and you had to do it with the right attitude. That's partly what makes obedience radical, is that you do it with joy. You're a joyful giver. You do it without resistance, without reluctance. You do it happily and you move on. You don't dwell on it, you don't let it linger, and you have a positive outlook about it. Like, this is going to come back to me 10 times fold. I'm happy to be in service. Let me move on with my day. Now, how many of us, like, I'm going to do it, but we go kicking, screaming, stumping, and shouting, right? Like, I'm going to do it, but I hate it here. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. That's not how obedience works. Like, we do it and we do it joyfully. We do it happily. It's so important, right? And so number 3 is what makes obedience radical. We do it with joy and not reluctance. We do it with joy and not resistance. It's the attitude in which we show up to the assignment. I don't come in here on y'all dragging, kicking, and screaming, telling y'all all the things I would rather do other than be here with y'all on Monday mornings. Like, I don't come in here like, oh, let me turn this live on again. They expected me. I don't feel like it. And even when I don't feel like it, y'all, I never come on and tell y'all that. I serve with joy. I serve at the pleasure of every single person watching and listening. Why? Because this is my assignment. My speaking, my teaching is my assignment. When I get the divine downloads that I'm supposed to deliver to you guys, how dare me show up with an attitude thinking you ought to be grateful? No, I'm grateful that God gave me this assignment. I'm grateful. Everything that I'm teaching you right now, I thought of. This is my intellectual property. I came up with this framework for radical obedience, but God didn't give it to me for me. He gave it to me for y'all. So how dare me show up with anything other than a joyful, grateful smile, right? So I serve at the pleasure. You feel me? And so we got to get better at that. Some of us, yeah, I gave her a little money back and then go talk mess about. I didn't drag her name through the mud. I didn't come on and do a live about people who don't know what they want. Like, we be so shady with our obedience. Like, let me get this straight. You did what you were supposed to do, but you done dragged my girl name through the mud. You done made some cryptic post about it. You on your friends, you're on the phone cackling with your friends about people. No, I didn't do anything. Matter of fact, I prayed for her. And that was it. And that was the end of it. Right. So we do it cheerfully. Thank you, Stacy, on YouTube. She said, God loveth a cheerful giver. 100%. Obedience, you should be grateful to show up on assignment. Right? Like, if God told you, if you know you're supposed to be tithing, give happily and shut up about it. Like, just give. Like, stop. Y'all obedience be so sloppy and messy sometimes. Right? I remember a couple master classes ago. You guys know I do a prep master class every month for our 30-day vegan challengers, right? And I was waxing deep on this particular master class. I don't know what I was saying, but it was probably good because most of what I say is good. And some people had their cameras on. And this one lady, she had her camera on and she was listening. Like, she was obedient because she was in the room, right? She done signed up for the challenge and she in the perp master class. But baby, she was on camera looking mean, like mean mugging. And I said, I don't remember her name, but let's just call her D. I was like, D, I've never said this to anybody during a live master class, but can you turn your camera off? I'm like, cause you looking at me like I'm enemy number one. Public enemy number one. She couldn't do nothing but laugh because I think I was talking about how we about to give up this sugar, how we about to stop eating that mess, how we gonna have to start grocery shopping more. I'm like, if you want your condition in remission, if you want to lose the weight, if you sick of this is what's required. I'm sick of y'all thinking about y'all can do the least and y'all can still get the same result. So I was waxing deep, probably going off on everybody, snatching a few edges. Y'all know how I do. And she was mean mugging. She had her shoulders up. Her face was scrunched up. She was in the camera looking mean. I said, ooh, your obedience is sloppy today. You here because you know you're supposed to be here, but you got an attitude about it. I said, can you cut your camera off? We couldn't do nothing but crack up, right? So, like, y'all got to start showing up with a smile. Like, I'm going to be obedient and I'm going to do it with pleasure. Okay? So that's number 3. Let's get into the last one. Oh, 42 minutes. Good Lord, that's a lot of minutes. Okay, listen, but guess what? I got my Contiga, y'all. So y'all know my tea ain't cooling down. How won't he do it? Mm-mm-mm. Okay, now y'all see my bottle is peeling. If anybody wants to donate a new tea warmer to me for the holidays, I won't be mad at you. Anybody got the plug? Anyway, don't worry about that. We'll talk about it offline. Okay, let's get into number 4. Okay, let's get into the final characteristic that makes obedience radical. That final thing that makes obedience radical. This is a big one. This is a major one. Like, this one is the one that most of us probably need to work on the most, okay? Malika, stop laughing at me. She said your obedience is sloppy. I'm talking about messy. Okay. So number 4, the fourth and final thing that makes obedience radical is that it's done with innocence and not expectation. Hmm? Hmm. It's done with innocence and not expectation. Let's say it a different way. It's done with your eyes wide shut instead of your eyes wide open. What does that mean? That means when we show up on assignment, we stop scoreboard watching. We stop looking for something in return. We stop waiting, like foot tapping or looking at our watch. Like, okay, all right, God, I did what you told me to do. You said I'm supposed to tithe and then I'm going to get an overflow. When is it coming, baby? I've been tithing, right? You said if I work out and I eat these plants every damn day, I'm going to lose this weight. I'm looking at the scale, Jesus. Right? Right. Like you had said, you had told me. Right? So we have to start doing things with innocence, meaning innocence mean, oh, I didn't know. I had no idea. Like I didn't have any expectations. I did it so innocently. I didn't know and I wasn't smart enough to have expectations. Right? Some of us, we do what we know we're supposed to do because we know we're supposed to do it. We got that part down. But we're also side-eyeing that ROI. We're side-eyeing that return on our investment like, okay now, okay. I've been obedient. When is it my time, Lord? When they gonna put me in the spotlight? When I'm gonna get the fame and fortune? When, right? And so this is what happens with a lot of people when it comes to health. We we start doing the thing like, okay, I'm gonna do Lisa's. Y'all be so disrespectful. I'm gonna do Lisa's little challenge. Don't call my challenge little ever again, by the way. Okay. But I'm gonna do Lisa's challenge. Okay. Um, but if I ain't got my result in 30 days, come February 1st, baby, I'm in the first drive-through I see. Come February 1st, if I ain't lost all the weight, and if I ain't off all the medication, if I don't feel 1,000% better, if she can't do it in 30 days, and I'm going right back past the alcohol, past the chicken, past happy hour, the roll up, right? Whatever y'all smoking, whatever y'all drinking. I'm like, who told you? Who told you you was about to reverse a whole autoimmune condition and two types of cancer in 30 days? Y'all be looking for that ROI. Like I'm willing to do the thing, but I'm only willing to do it in the time frame that I expect a certain result. And if I don't get the result I'm expecting, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop doing the thing and I'm going to have the audacity to go tell people that the thing don't work. Nope, I tried running a business that don't work. You should just keep a day job. It's too hard out here. Don't nobody want to spend money. Ain't nobody got it. Everybody broke. Don't nobody want to get healthy. Don't do it. Because I tried it for 6 months. It ain't worked for me. So you shouldn't try it either. Your expectations are messy, right? So obedience, what makes obedience radical? You do it with innocence and not expectation. Innocence means I had no idea all of this required. Like when I first started my business, so I started as an entrepreneur in 2015, and I had no idea. Like there's so much I didn't know. The only thing I knew is that I wanted to be a personal trainer. I wanted to start my own personal training company. I wanted to help people like lose weight like I had lost weight. I wanted to help people get confident in their body like I had got confident in my body. I wanted people to be free from the things that was like taking up mental real estate. Like I tell people all the time, I lost weight because I got sick of thinking about losing weight. Right. So I had no idea like how much money I could really make. I had no idea that, if I did this thing at a certain level of excellence, that I would be in demand and I could become a public figure and that I would hit stages and people would know my name and that I would, 9 years later get on Zoom calls and people would fan out. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm talking to you. I watch you all the time. I listen to your podcast. I didn't do it for celebrity. I didn't do it for money. I didn't do it for I did it to serve. I had no expectations. I did it with innocence. I had no expectation. I'm just like, hey, I see a problem that needs to be solved. I'm going to go out here and solve it. Obedience becomes radical when we do it with innocence and not expectation. So we have to be very careful with scoreboard watching. We have to be very careful. Like you just supposed to be on the court and in the game. The reason you keep missing shots is because you keep looking up at the scoreboard. What's the score now? Are we almost there? What's the score now? Like, when's my time coming? When's my bag coming? When's my man coming? When's my girl coming? Like, relax. Why they happy? Why she happy? I've been working on myself, like you said. I made a list of everything I want in a partner. I did that. Relax. Just be obedient. You knew to find the best partner, you were supposed to work on yourself. Just work on yourself. Like, he better come quick or I'm about to be for the streets. No, relax. What's up with all these expectations, Jesus? You feel me? Travis says she coming soon. I promise you, and is. Huh? And is. Right? And so, y'all, we have to be very careful with watching the scoreboard so much, because we're like, obedience is supposed to lead to my great windfall. Obedience is supposed to lead to my life looking a certain way, right? And when it doesn't, when our health doesn't look a certain way, when our love life doesn't look a certain way, when our business doesn't look a certain way, when all of that doesn't look a certain way, we decide to either revert back to disobedience, or we revert back to number one. We go back to partial and not complete, right? I do some of the stuff, but I'm not going to continue to do all the things because I'm not getting what I expect in the time that I expected it. And that is a very dangerous way to play this obedience game. Let's review, boys and girls. Let's review. Okay. I tell you guys that I live a life of radical obedience. I just completed editing the first copy of the book that I'm writing about radical obedience. But most people, every interview I do on somebody's podcast, on somebody's stage, they ask me, you talk about this radical obedience. What is it? And so I decided to break it down in finite detail. And so what I came up with is what I share with you guys today. And I just want to review to make sure you know that there's a difference between just being obedient and being radically obedient. So radically obedient is defined as doing what you're called to do despite the presence of fear and uncertainty. And if we were to break that down into 4 characteristics, number 1 is complete, not partial. Number 2 is immediately, not eventually. Number 3 is with joy, not reluctance. And number 4 is with innocence and not expectation. That's what radical obedience is, right? And I need you guys to understand that obedience, one of the chapters in my book, and I love this chapter. It was also the title of the podcast episode that I recorded about this many years ago. You won't be able to find the episode now. I took it offline. But it's called Obedience is Payment for What You're Praying For. And I think that sums up this episode quite well. Obedience is payment for what you're praying for. Everything you're praying for, whether it be in finances, whether it be in fitness, whether it be in your faith, in your relationships, right? In healing personally from stuff, right? Obedience is payment for what you're praying for. Start doing the things completely and immediately and with joy that you know you're supposed to be doing. I can't set any obedience is payment for what we're praying for. And it gives you great favor when you are obedient. And when you are radically obedient, it changes the game. Because again, I started telling you guys the issue is the issue is that most people live in the middle. It's not that we're not doing nothing. So we're not doing the least. We just refuse to do the most. And it's your refusal to do the most that's keeping you in an undesirable circumstance. And so I really hope, I pray that this was useful for you guys today. Somebody tell me the biggest takeaway from today. What was your biggest takeaway from today? I would love to hear it. And listen, today is Monday, December 16th. I think this episode is actually going to come out on the podcast after the challenge has started, because we only got a couple more Mondays left. Yeah, so this episode is going to come out on the podcast after the challenge has started. And so for those of you who are listening and watching live, if you are not registered for my 30-day vegan salt, oil, and sugar-free challenge that's starting January 1, 2025, get in the room. Because if you want to hear me waxing deep like this, even if like you ain't interested in being plant-based, if you just trying to be under my tutelage for the month of January, twice a week on Wednesdays and Saturdays, just to hear me wax deep, I promise you it'll change your life. I promise you. I promise you. So, what was your biggest takeaway from today? I see them coming in. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Hit me with something. Listen, if obedience is payment for what you praying for, comments and feedback is payment for these free lives every Monday. Let me hear what y'all taking away so I can make sure it's useful. Thank you. And while you're doing that, get registered for the 30-day vegan salt, oil, and sugar-free challenge. If you're watching on Instagram, just DM me the word challenge and I'll send you the link. If you're watching on YouTube, lisaangelsmith.com/challenge. Somebody make sure they save it. Type that in the chat for me. I forgot to put it in. I'll do it. Oh, okay. So let me see. Biggest takeaways. Jacqueline said, do it with joy, not resistance. Stacy said, immediately and not eventually. She said, I procrastinate. Yep. Yep. Regina said, biggest takeaway, radical obedience is complete, not partial. That's right. I love it. I love y'all. Milan, shut up. Milan said, biggest takeaway, wash off the almonds. You got to wash the almonds off, especially if you're doing the challenge. Deatra said, be obedient with joy and innocence. That's right. That's right. Stop scoreboard watching. Trevor put the quote in the chat for me. I love Trevor. Trevor, we was just talking about you. I don't know how long you've been on, but Trevor, we was talking about you all morning. Oh God, guys, thank you. I am Coach Chambers says obedience is payment for what you're praying for. Yes, guys, God knows you can be trusted. Yes, I love it. Right down to it. What up, Rocky? Rocky had both profiles on here today. Discipline and consistency are key. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. You got to make the payment. You got to make the payment, Murphy. Thank you for saying that. So good. Natasha on YouTube says, obedience is payment for what you're praying for. Woo child. I love a good collective woo child. You know what I mean? Melanin just be popping around here. Okay, so I'm so happy that this was helpful for you guys. You guys know I will be back here next Monday. And next Monday at 10 a.m. EST, our regular time, I am going to be talking about decision making. I'm going to tell you guys one of the biggest challenges with your decision making, if you have found that you have been consistently in circumstances and situations that look the same or never really turn out how you want them to turn out. I was at the park yesterday. I was walking at the park yesterday. I love nature. So I was walking at the park yesterday and I was listening to a sermon. And the pastor said something that was so good. And I was like, oh man. And so he gave me a divine download. And I started thinking about turmeric. So anyway, next week, here's the only little tidbit I'm gonna give y'all, which is not gonna be helpful at all, right? Shout out to cliffhangers. But next Monday, I'm gonna be telling you what turmeric and your decision-making ability has in common. Eek! Okay, I think that's going to be the title, actually. What does turmeric and your not so great decision making have in common? I'm going to tell you next week, next Monday, 10 a.m. EST. Come back here. Thank y'all for those of you guys who stayed on and rocked with me. I did not plan for this to be an hour, but we had to go through that framework today. So I appreciate you guys for walking with me. I will see you guys back here same time next Monday. Bye, y'all.